Hey, mahal everyone, welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. I am your host 40 and we are back with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, we're going to be covering part 4 of my weapon passive series, 15 CP versus 35 CP. Again, some friendly reminders when watching this series. This video series is designed to help newer players and free-to-play players understand which weapon passive can best help a character function in the event they do not have both weapons on that character. It also helps them to understand which weapon passive would be more ideal for a budget build, considering that newer players and free-to-play players won't have every weapon released in their inventory. So for example, let's say you are just brand new to the game and upon the making of this video, the newest character out is Kain, but you're limited on the amount of gems that you want to spend because you want to save. This will help you understand at least which weapon would benefit that character Kain, whether if it's just his 15 CP on its own or it's 35 CP on its own. Now obviously, if you have both weapons for that character, then by all means, max limit break and level up the 15 CP first. That way you have the passive, and then afterwards you can either sell it for power stones and then level up the 35 CP and equip the 35 CP. That way you have both, because a character all in all will be better when he or she has both of their passives. But again, this is to help newer players and free-to-play players understand which of those passives still would make that character effective if they only had just one within their inventory requirements. Now this will not cover, again, the World of Illusions event 15 CP weapons such as Cloud's 15 CP Crimson Edge and Bartz's 15 CP Noir Caliber and any other weapons that fall into that category, because those weapons don't directly impact the character's abilities, and for the most part they're really situational. And finally, this will not cover EX weapons, as one, Global does not yet have them, and I want to save that for another series. So we're going to be getting into EX weapons when we finally see them on the global side. So let's go ahead and go over part 4 of this series. So the first character we're going to go over is Yuffie. Her abilities are Snatch and I Don't Need This. Snatch, currently in global, allows Yuffie to gain the target's Brave before she inflicts a one-hit range Brave attack. It has a pretty high damage modifier of 150%. Her second ability is I Don't Need This, so she redirects any type of debuffs that she has to the target. Her 15 CP Oritsuru passive grants her a 25% max Brave up for one turn after she uses Snatch. However, the damage modifier on the one-hit range Brave attack still remains the same. It's unaffected. Her 35 CP Wind Slash passive, now we don't have this weapon yet in global, but I'm going to mention it because we are going to be getting it soon. So it's going to increase I Don't Need This usage by +1. The debuffs that she redirects now affects all enemies. The redirected debuffs are extended to 5 turns, and it also improves a unique buff that Yuffie will be getting later called Now It's Perfect. It's going to extend the duration of that unique buff to 8 turns. It's also going to raise her Brave based on 30% of her max Brave, and it's going to change her Brave attack to Brave Attack Plus. So Brave Attack Plus is a one-hit range Brave attack that raises everyone's Brave by 20% of Yuffie's max Brave. The damage modifier on that Brave Attack Plus is at 100%. So what is my verdict for Yuffie? So Yuffie is in desperate need of her 35 CP in global DFFOO. Even her 15 CP unfortunately doesn't add much. It just gives her a 25% max Brave up, but it's for one turn. If it was for more than that, then I would say, yeah, she could still do quite okay with it, but even with it, she's really niche. So the game really needs to give her 35 CP, and when it's out and you want to build up Yuffie, definitely focus that first if you are limited on gems or if you are a free-to-play player. Now, Yuna is the next character, so Yuna has 2 abilities. Esuna removes all debuffs from one target. It also raises everyone's Brave times 1.2 of Yuna's initial Brave, and it has a high turn rate. Her second ability is Cheer, so this raises a single target's Brave by 1.5 of their current Brave. Her 2 weapons are 15 CP Astral Rod. The passive for that allows Esuna to now remove all debuffs from the entire party, not just one target. And then her 35 CP Lullaby Rod, which we have yet to see in global, but we will be getting soon. This is gonna change Cheer into an AoE Brave gain times 1.5 to the entire party. It's gonna improve a unique buff that Yuna will get later called Faith's Protection to herself. It's also gonna grant Spira's Protection unique buff, which is a Brave regen and 10% max Brave up and a 20% attack up to everybody for 5 turns. It's going to change her HP attack to HP attack plus, which raises Yuna's Brave based on 50% of her attack before dealing HP damage, and it'll also give Cheer a high turn rate. So what is my verdict for which passive you should go for Yuna first? So while her 35 CP is arguably better, Yuna surprisingly can function well even with just her 15 CP. And this was proven at launch when the game first came out, and a lot of folks were using Yuna, even up to now, for those folks that don't have Aiko, let's say, or don't have, let's say, another support kid like, let's say, Aerith. If they weren't able to pull on those characters, Yuna can actually still function quite well in being able to provide Brave for the party whenever they're in a pinch, and also remove those debuffs. So while her 35 CP is definitely one that you want to prioritize first, her 15 CP alone is still pretty good for her, and she can do quite well even with just that. The next character we're going to be taking a look at is Edge, our ninja from Final Fantasy IV. He has two abilities. Shock is a one-hit thunder magic brave attack with a high turn rate, with a fairly high damage modifier of 120%. His second ability is Smoke, which grants Edge a large evasion rate for one turn. It also raises his brave based on 100% of his attack. His 15 CP Kikuichi Monji passive increases his Shock's damage output, so now it's at 180%, which is pretty high. His 35 CP Ashura, which again, we don't yet have this weapon, but we will be seeing it soon, being that it is a 35 CP. It's going to increase his smoke abilities usage by +1. The brave gain that he gives to himself is now based on 150% of his attack. It also increases the potency of a unique buff he will be receiving later called Eblin's Teaching, and it extends its duration, and it also does an AoE provoke now for one turn to all enemies. So it effectively makes Edge kind of like a pseudo tank, an evasion pseudo tank. So what is my verdict on these two weapons? So both of Edge's passives for these weapons definitely benefit him, but I'm going to say that it's 35 CP. This time Edge is out just a little because of its added usage and the buffs that he gets. Plus, Shock's natural damage modifier is already fairly high at 120%, so even if you don't have his 15 CP and only later on his 35 CP, he's still going to be fairly useful with just that 35 CP weapon. Last character we're going to talk about in my part 4 for this video is going to be King from Type 0. He has two abilities. Rapid Bullets is a 2-hit range brave attack with a high turn rate. Each hit deals 60% twice, so it is a total damage modifier of 120%. His second ability is Reload, which resets the usage count of his other abilities, and it also raises his brave by 100% of his attack. His two passives, his 15 CP Judgment, it increases Rapid Bullets damage output, so now each hit is dealing 70% for a grand total of 140%. It also grants 20% attack up to himself for one turn. His 35 CP Outsider, which another 35 CP weapon that we have yet to see in global, but again, we're going to be seeing it soon. This gives reloads usage +1. His brave gain to himself is now based on 150% of his attack. It has a high turn rate, and it also improves the unique buff, which he will be getting later, called Trigger Happy, and it extends that duration to 12 turns, which is pretty long extension there. So what are my thoughts on King's passives? King benefits more off of his 35 CP weapon, obviously, because of all of the buffs that he gets, and also being able to just reuse his Rapid Bullets when he runs out. Having his 15 CP on its own doesn't quite assist him enough outside of the damage, compared to just having his 35 CP. And the damage output increase, if you don't have his 15 CP, it's only 20%, so it's not really that much. And yes, the 20% attack up that the 15 CP gives you is nice, but it's only for one turn, and he's getting a Trigger Happy unique buff later on, so definitely focus on his 35 CP. But again, if you have both, then prioritize at least MLBing his 15 CP, and then afterwards equipping that 35 CP, so that way you have both of his passives active. All right, guys, well, that is going to be it on part 4 for my weapon passives 15 CP versus 35 CP. Again, thank you guys for watching my videos. If you guys have any suggestions for brand new series or what you'd like to see on this channel in regards to Dissidia, Opera, Omnia, please let me know in the comment section below, as well as my Twitter or even my Discord that I do leave the links for those communities, so be sure to check them out. Alright guys, this is 40 the Broadway saying, stay tuned for the next video, and mahal everyone.